range prefers live chat for their customer service. Let's admit it. You're on your couch, you have an issue, you're on your phone, there's somebody popping up, you can easily ask their question instead of like picking up the phone. Then you have to hear somebody who's annoyed or angry. It's like, oh, him again. So it's really easier to just send your question online. I guess, less interaction, but the answers are usually fast, and the clients usually don't have patience, and they will wait maximum 1-2 minutes. It's the world we're living in. And it's less pressure for them to contact you by live chat. Normally they're anonymous, so there's no pressure for them because even if they hate on you or they love on you, you don't really know who they are unless they actually tell you or they're signed into their Odoo account, but that's another story. As I mentioned, the operator can multitask, talk to a person, and answer another email for another client, and can juggle between these two tasks. And it's an undeniable trend. I think you've already experienced it in your customer journey with, if you're on some e-commerce and you're not decided whether you want to buy a product or not, or you want more specs, it's very easy to just pop the question, send your question in a pop-up. And I know that there's a huge trend going towards AI, and surely will go in that direction as well. But clients do appreciate talking to a human. And if you do this properly, your retention rate will be much higher, and also your conversion rate will increase in the same manner. The second part that I want to discuss is the pre-sales. Clients like making informed decisions. And I think, as I already mentioned, you're in the same, you're interested in buying a new laptop, let's say. I'm pretty sure you do a lot of research. And it's more, have a higher incentive if you go on the website and there's a pop-up and you can ask all your questions, you're not sure about the spec, maybe you want a discount. So talking to a human in real life can definitely help you take your a decision faster. And about 44% of the online consumers say that having their question asked during a live chat session, the probability of the purchase is much higher. And we've seen it also in our own company. There are much higher conversion rates with potential clients because of live chat. And I will focus now on how has it helped us. There are 3 different areas: support, sales, and usability. The fact that we can take care of issues on the spot definitely reduces the number of tickets that we can receive. And the rating is much higher because I helped you right now. You didn't have to wait for 3 hours, 1 day, 2 days for me to answer your questions. It was right now. And also in the case of potential clients who are looking for answers, who are pretty lost in your product or whatever matrix you have and they don't understand, the decision making is much shorter. In sales, as I was already mentioning, the pre-sales, for Odoo, this is one of our best lead generators and the highest conversion rate, around 10%. So imagine that today I was online for a few hours. I created 10 leads. One of them will become a client. So it's a pretty good ratio. And also in terms of usability, we use the feedback that we get from our visitors to improve the existing features and to come up with new apps. I will not tell you which one came because of live chat, but there are a few. And it helps us fix what's not working and improve what's already there. Now with a demo, I'm sorry I was rushing through this, but since there are only 20 minutes, I've created here a simple website just to show you how it all works. First of all, going back to the back end, this is obviously V13. You see the live chat, and I have the CRM, one of the few apps that live chat is integrated with, social marketing, help desk. We'll quickly go into the live chat. I already created a channel I was mentioning earlier. You have different options where you can put what questions you want to have for your users. the channel rules. Here I mentioned earlier that you can choose the country where it shows up, or you can choose the countries that you don't want to show up. You can also exclude whether you want it to pop up or just static on the side of your website. And here, for the traders in the room who don't use Odoo website, as I mentioned, you can copy the snippet and put it in your website tag and use live chat if your website does not have it. No strings attached, just saying. Here are the canned responses. This will definitely make your life easier if you have recurrent questions. It's very easy to create. You just put your keyword here, Odoo Connect. Let's say, come back next year. I will save, and then I can immediately just use this in my conversation. Now, maybe if you've never used live chat, this looks pretty simple, and it is simple, but very powerful. As I mentioned, here I'm in Discuss. Before I move on, let's join my channel to join my live chat, and I will go here. This is the website, a simple, very simple website that I created. And here is my live chat pop-up. I'm just gonna say hi and see what's happening on the other side. Look at that, I already have so many people. Hi there. And remember that I mentioned the canned responses? It's so easy to use. You just put colon and the keyword, hit enter, and you can see my typo right there. Good for me. Then, as I mentioned, this is how you can use it to multitask. You can use your pop-ups, and in the same time, you can go into your help desk, see what tickets you need to be working on, and you're not locked down into Discuss, which you can see. You can also do it from here, and this is mostly for people who really have a lot of live chats, a lot of conversation on their website. And let's go back to our window and show you the commands that I mentioned. It's, as you can see, help is, you can create a help desk ticket. If somebody has an issue directly from your conversation, it will copy your conversation. If the client is signed into his user, that will be automatically populated. If not, you have to do it for them. But what's great about this is that they do not have to send you an email and do the effort all over again to describe their issue. Their issue is already in the conversation, copied there, and somebody will follow up with them. Secondly, if you click history, you can see the pages they've been with. So that also helps you to understand what has the user been looking at, so that you understand better his questions. Sometimes it's not that clear. And one of my favorite ones is Lead, the integration with CRM. As I was saying, it's a great resource to create your leads. And I'm just gonna say potential client and hit enter. From here directly, I can create the leads. I fill in the information, the conversation is here, and then pass it on to your sales team. So this is one of my favorite features, obviously, from it. And the social media part, which the same thing, you can see your visitors here, and as I was mentioning, now you have a new route to reach out to your visitors. If the person has not started chatting with you, you can do it from your side. So it's a step forward to see, okay, how can I help you? Do you have any questions about our product? And a lot of people, will like this approach because, maybe they didn't even notice your live chat or they minimized it, and you can directly talk to them from here too. The same visitors that you have in the menu in the social marketing, you also have it in the live chat. So you have the same view. I'm a fan of this new feature. And to conclude, I would say I think, I mean, by now it's pretty clear that it's integrated with a few of our apps. It's a free tool for you to use, flexible in the sense that you can create your own channels, put it on in your language, in your own country or the world or the continent you're in, wherever your market is. You have real results and from the point of view of customer service and also sales, collaborative, and I think a lot of you like the last part, monetize, because in the end, these potential clients become clients as a result of the conversations that you've had. And that's a wrap. So if you have questions.
For using this on the help desk side, you'd said that you can create a ticket directly
Yes.
from there. So when that is created, is there a way to assign a person directly from the chat box window, doing @user, something like that?
It will work. It will be in the same manner as and when I created the lead for the CRM, it's just a form view. You have the conversation, the history of the conversation, and you have to manually do it unless you use Studio and you create an automatic action, but you have to manually assign it to somebody.
Okay, and then I have another question. So in our business, our sales team manages the chat box,
Yeah.
and then they'll have to call over to support, say I have somebody on chat box, log in, have them share the window, and then they can see the...
No, I will show you right here.
How does that work?
It's, if you're in Discuss, let's say this is our conversation or next one, I can use this button, and you can only do it from Discuss for now.
Okay.
So whoever is, yeah, it's just me for now. I invite him. Well, I'm just one user, but if I had a second user, he'll be invited and he can take over the conversation.
Okay, thank you.
There's another question on the other side.
Hi, sorry, could you just demonstrate the canned responses for a
Yes,
second?
of course. So as I mentioned, I created a few. It's just colon, and these are the few that I created. I just have to type or directly select, hit enter, and it's that easy. And you can create as many as you want. Note, all the ones that you create are visible for all the users. It's not just they're not just visible for you. So everybody who creates is just a pool of answers that everybody sees. Side note.
Okay.
But it's fairly easy.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
I think I don't know, if you have other questions, I'll be on the side. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon now, everybody. My name is Matt. I'm a business advisor here at Odoo, and we will be covering shipping methods in Odoo, specifically as it relates to the sales side of things, so creating a quotation, adding it to an order, and then you can also have this on the front end being kind of a website as well. So we'll go over all of that today. And here's just a brief agenda. So we'll go over overall delivery methods. We'll do a quick demo, and then we can conclude with a Q&A after that. Okay, so I want to start with you guys with a quote. And the quote is, make a customer, not a sale. So why is this important is you want to develop a relationship with your customer, and not just a transactional relationship, but a meaningful relationship that will occur over time, hopefully. There's some statistic around acquiring a new customer versus making sales on an old customer, and the odds of, or the effort it takes to retain a customer versus acquire a new one are great. There's a lot more. It's a lot easier to keep an existing customer, I guess I'd say. So the reason I want to cover this is a lot of times for customer, it matters the service you give them, and then shipping is a huge one. So being able to get a product to a customer on time and in their budget is huge, and that's exactly why I have this quote, because you want to create the relationship and make a customer and not a sale. So delivery methods in Odoo. So natively, Odoo integrates with many major shipping integrators. So UPS, USPS, DHL, FedEx, and a few more. But we use EasyPost. So essentially anyone that you don't see out of the box with Odoo, you can integrate with EasyPost. And EasyPost is a network of different shipping vendors. Actually, if we click on here, this will be all of the other providers that Odoo might not natively integrate with. You can use EasyPost to integrate with all of these types of providers. And they're from all around the world. So depending on where you live, et cetera, you can just search EasyPost and find the right connector for you. Okay, so there's really 3 steps to actually implementing these shipping methods. You have to activate them, you have to configure them, and then you really have to apply them in your day-to-day. So activate, this is showing, as you guys know, Odoo can do a lot of things. It's a very robust platform, but we also strive to make it as simple as possible to use. So the settings is really where you're going to go to turn on different functions that you might not see out of the box. Same thing with the shipping methods. And here we've seen the different ones I showed on the last screen. So we have the DHL connector, the USPS, EasyPost, et cetera. And this is where you'd go to actually activate those. And then you configure it directly in here. I do want to point out, new to version 13 is the SMS confirmation. So we've showed it before as like an SMS marketing tool, but can be used for a lot of different applications, really any sort of customization you guys want. In this case, this is sending an SMS text message when the delivery order is done. It's shipped out of your warehouse. You can obviously have it for email, texting, I think is way cooler though. And then the next step, once you activate the specific shipping method, then we're going to go ahead and configure it. And in the configuration, there's a lot of different specific information that you guys can obviously configure. But the basic is you need to have your developer key and password, as well as account number from FedEx in this case. So this has to do, you go onto FedEx's website, get your own developer key, password, account number, et cetera. This is where you'd enter that, and it would link all your information from FedEx to Odoo. And we have other information here, so you can have like a margin on the rate for the shipping. You can provide it free if order amount is above a certain threshold, et cetera, et cetera. So, and then on the destination availability, you can configure these shipping methods to be specific on the location. So if you are shipping to one place that might not, FedEx or another carrier might not service, then you can just configure that in the destination availability. So you'll configure, and then once you're done configuring, setting it all up, you'd actually apply this. So there's two main ways to get a rate. So actually, when you're generating the shipping costs, you get two forms of cost. One is the estimated cost, which will charge based off of the estimated cost of your location of your customer, as well as the weight of the package, and the origin. So it'll compute the shipping route, the basis of the estimated shipping cost from there. And the real cost is more or less invoiced after the package is delivered, and that would be an exact cost of the rate. So I'll show you guys that in a demo here. So we're going to go into a demo environment. And we'll go ahead, and the first thing we'll do is go into settings, and I'll show you guys a little bit about the configuration. So we're going to go into sales. And here's where we're configuring. In this case, I have just a FedEx connector set up, which we'll go into. But I can select any of these other ones. So if I actually click into the FedEx shipping methods, you can see that I have one published in this case on my website, and it's the FedEx US. So this is all the information we're going over before. And estimated cost versus real cost, this is where you guys would configure that. You also can do things like generate a return label if you want to include that in a shipment. We can go through a flow with both of these, but this is just where you're configuring that. Now, in my inventory, in this case, I work for a board game company, and this is Odoo Connect for board game. And we see here, okay, I have 9 of these on hand. Here's the price, etc. And this is available on my website as well. So what I'm going to do is I can go to the website and we can configure that there, but I'm going to first just create a quote. So say I'm creating a quotation for a customer. I can go ahead and I'm going to say this is Brad Pitt. He loves board games. And we're going to just type in Brad's email. You know what? I'm actually not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and go with John Smith. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's important, like I was saying before, you need to have an address associated with the contact. You need to have the address configured in Odoo for your specific company. And then the last thing, which I forgot to show you guys, is on the actual product itself, you need to have we need to have the actual weight of the product, because that's how FedEx is going to calculate. It's going to take into account John's address. It's going to take into account the weight of the package, and then it's also going to take into account where we are. So I'm just going to save this. I'll go ahead and add in the product, the Connect 4 board game. And so this is new to Odoo as well. On version 13, as you can actually see the available stock on hand as well as forecasted. We used to have in version 12, the shipping was up here. It's actually got moved down here. So we can go ahead and click Add Shipping. And then we'll go ahead and select one of the ones I have configured. This is a custom one I just made. I'll show you guys later. But this is a stork. But I'm going to say, okay, I have FedEx US. And then I can go ahead and say Get Rate. And this is going to compute based off of the weight, the customer's address, as well as the origin. It's going to compute that rate. So I can easily add this into the sales order here. You see, okay, now this is a different line item. You can easily organize this if you guys would like. Say this is the game for a section. And then you also want to add a section for delivery for your customers. So just a really easy way to configure a quote, obviously. And, oops, just going to reorganize this. All right. So we can send this quote to the end client with the delivery included here. So we can send them it's going to have a PDF, obviously. This is a standard Odoo feature that'll send them a PDF of this specific game in this case, as well as the delivery. But it'll also send, and I can go ahead and just send this, it'll move from quotation to quotation sent. It'll also send them a link to an online portal where they can actually view that quote directly on the portal. And we have the delivery included. So say this guy said, hey, yeah, looks looks good for the shipping. We can go ahead and publish this. They can actually do things like sign and pay. All this functionality is available through the sales application. So I'm just going to say, okay, hey, looks good. I'm sending that through. Sorry about that call. And I can go back to edit mode, and this is going to show me everything on the back end. So we're just looking at the front end. It's showing me the back end. This customer, they'd appear in this chatter here. Hey, that looks good. So I can go ahead and confirm the order. And what that's going to do is create a delivery order for this board game in the warehouse. So I can click it. I can access that delivery order here. This is what someone in the warehouse would see. I can also go into the inventory application and say, okay, I have a delivery order to process, receipts for incoming receipts, usually from vendors. Delivery order to process. I'll go ahead and I'm in the warehouse. I need to actually validate, make sure this is sent out. So I'm going to validate that, okay, yes, we do have the board game for this guy, and we're going to just go ahead and validate this. And I'm going to go apply. And so what Odoo has done, because I've set it up this way, is it sent a text message to the customer. It says, hey, we're glad to inform you your order has shipped. This is customizable. It has the tracking reference number here. And it actually generated the shipping label directly from FedEx. So that's, yeah, this is a shipping label directly from FedEx. And they also have the ability to check tracking. If someone, say, calls into your place of business and wants to check that, you just click into tracking. It actually links directly to the FedEx page. So really cool. So in one kind of foul swoop, we were able to get the shipping rate, send it out, an SMS was sent, and then a tracking number was created. So any sort of configuration, variation on this would be generated within the actual connector. So for instance, the other thing I wanted to cover was there's two forms of there's two forms of actually getting the quote, like I was saying before. So you can either have it as the real cost, or you can have it as estimated cost or real cost. So we just went over estimated cost that'll take into account all the different weights and addresses. But if we go into real cost, what this is going to do, as long as I have it set up correctly here, so it's going to be a real cost. I'm going to go ahead and go through that same flow. I'm going to select the customer, John. I'm going to go ahead and add in a product, and that product is going to be that same board game. And I can go ahead and from here add the shipping in. I'm going to add the FedEx US shipping in. I'll go ahead and get rate, but you see this little notification says the shipping price will be set once the delivery is done. So I'm going to add in this shipping cost. You'll notice that this line item, because this is on real rate, you're not sending the end client a quote with the actual price of the shipping. It says 0 in this case, but it says the estimate here in the description. So it autofilled the description with the estimated cost. And I can go ahead and send this to them, same kind of workflow. I'm just going to go ahead and confirm it. So just confirm this. It turned into a sales order. Now if we go to the warehouse, we ship it out. We're going to apply it here. And then this moves from, this is a validated warehouse. And here is that label, that text, cost for shipping says $0. But if we go back to the sales order, so we sent this out. Now from the sales order, we're going to create the invoice. And we're going to create an invoice from the sales order here, create view invoice. And this, don't have it configured correctly, I guess. But this would auto-populate with the actual price of that shipping method here. So just the difference between estimated cost and real cost, and that's there. And then same kind of settings apply for things like returns. If you guys were to include like a return label directly in the guy's initial shipment, you go ahead and just do that and configure that here. And then what that would do is it would actually generate 2 shipping labels when the warehouse people validated the order. So create one for the actual delivery itself, and then it create the return label as well. All right. And then same workflow goes for the website. So if you guys have a website, an e-commerce shop, and actually don't really have this configured absolutely correctly here, but you'd be able to, when someone's checking out, they'd be able to actually compute the rate of the shipping when they're checking out. So if I go to process checkout, you'd be able to have them select a preferred delivery method. So, I mean, this guy's going to choose free all day long, but in this case, this is spinning because it's actually computing based off of this billing and shipping, where exactly and how much it's going to be based on this order. And this would actually reflect that same rate. I think it was $39. So this is a really cool way to offer people different options for shipping methods in this case. And yeah, so that's the gist of how these shipping methods work. Let's see. So there's a lot more. So things that we didn't cover. So applying margin on computed rates, you can certainly do that. So if there's a margin on how much you want to charge the customer for shipping, you can configure that. You can apply free shipping. We went over the SMS, really easy to track packages, and then customize your own shipping methods. So that's something that we'll briefly touch on here. So if I go into inventory, configuration and shipping methods, so you can really have any type of shipping method you want. So in this case, we have a stork delivering our package, and you can do this based off of fixed price, where you can just enter in a single price. You can do it based off of logic, so you can actually add rules. So say if it's over a certain weight, then you'd actually have the option to include this, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of different things you can do in terms of custom shipping methods. And that's pretty much it. So for your company, it's really expandable and flexible choice of different shipping options. And then for your client, it just makes their life a lot easier. It makes it transparent, easy, and really adaptable. Thank you, guys. Any questions I can help to answer?
How do you track the costing of the actual shipping methods after the fact? Because that's something that we do in trying to figure out how much is our transportation of our products to our customers.
Tracking of, it's a good question. So you can do it a couple different ways. I think what I'm thinking is just going into your sales, checking all the different sales orders you guys might have, and then applying filters based off the line items. Have you guys?
That's what you sold it for, though. He's asking for cost.
Cost of shipping. Well, you can filter based off of a specific line item in the sales order. So if there's a line item that says shipping or FedEx, that's a sales order, just filtering based off that specific line item. I think that's what you're asking, right? No.
Customer cost. That's customer cost, not your cost.
Your cost for shipping.
The company's cost for shipping.
Well,
What cost you should be able to see on your bill from FedEx?
yeah, it just depends on if you actually show the costing to the customer. If you say, here's the pricing, and they never see the shipping, and then you have to somehow accommodate it later, right? Right, Don? The freight in, freight out thing. So that's something that we have to try and figure out, because the customers ask, hey, we want this product, but they never want to see a shipping line. It just arrives on their dock. They don't want to see that shipping line, but we have to accommodate those costings somewhere so that we can adjust our margins later on our pricing. So that way we can say that when we're shipping these ones, we know that this is the approximate cost, so we'll adjust our prices later.
Up and down.
Kind of to adjust the cost of goods sold afterward, to how to accommodate the freight to adjust the cost of goods.
Yeah, that's a good question. Happy to get back to you with that. Yeah.
So the cost you get when you're asking for the price, you're going to FedEx, will they then give you the rate that they use for everybody, or is it going to be given the rate that you have set up with FedEx if you have like a special?
Yeah, it's specifically you're logging in with your credentials. It's all your same account information from FedEx to Odoo. Yeah. Thanks.
How are you doing? All right, so I'm assuming this works through the web portal as well, right?
Mhm.
What if you want to group shipping, like all of us here buy from the same location, and I want one shipping rate to apply for all 5 users? Is there a way to consolidate that within a specific time period? I don't know if that has the capability of doing that.
Yeah, like you're consolidating like delivery orders. Is that
Yes.
What it is? Okay. So, yeah, I think. So you're consolidating different delivery orders to send out, and you want to give them all group discount.
Let's say the delivery comes up to $20. I want that rate to be applied, split amongst all 5 persons. So each person should see $4 on their invoice for it to be paid, and then the delivery goes out. So I want to consolidate for it, but it's 4 different users.
4 different users. I think that'd be like a customization.
Customization,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm sure Studio. Yeah, you could do it as a studio application. Yeah.
What if I'm shipping hazardous goods? Is there provisions in there for that, for the communication with the carrier that it's a hazardous good and calculate or generating the right labels and categories and all that kind of stuff?
So that would be, the short answer is yes, but we have a quality module, so you can essentially tie in that quality module with shipments, for instance. But also, like on the, for instance, like the product level, you can include different descriptions. So like an internal note, for instance, and this would, or a sales description, those sorts of things. And what this would do is this would show up, for instance, on a sales order. So you can include information there. But yeah, using the quality application, it'd be a little bit more robust than this.
When you configure the shipping, there was a tracking icon, like a button, so that you could see the tracking information. I'm wondering if it's possible to configure it to see it in purchase orders as well. Because sometimes we buy X Works and we use our FedEx account to pick up at the vendor side
Yeah.
and bring to our warehouse.
So it sounds like the question is, okay, the tracking on the different delivery orders, which are available here. This tracking button you want on the purchase
Exactly,
order.
on the
Yeah,
receipt.
you can do that. It'll just be a studio application. You just create a new Spark button. So if I can't show you. But yeah, you can certainly do that. Absolutely. Yeah.
What if we want to do our own shipping internally? Does the tracking apply to that? Is there a module that we can use to track? Let's say we have our own drivers that delivers our products. Is there a way to track them as well?
Like track where they are in real time.
Is that tracks FedEx, right?
Right.
So is there a plugin or an app that we can use to do our own?
Yeah, so we have like a way to have like navigation between different places. You can certainly do that, but we don't have like real-time tracking. Like you can see,
That's
the truck.
fine.
But we have the third-party application store that has a lot of different options for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you guys.
Yes. Okay. We're ready to start. So you can ask us anything. So first, I will maybe present myself. Probably you know me. I'm Anthony. Anthony Le Suisse. I'm the CTO of Odoo, and my job is mainly to take care of the R&D, so the development of the next version of Odoo. And Olivier, who's there, is a developer, one of the oldest developer at Odoo. And is not taking care of a specific project. He is involved in many things. He's part of the team that handles our cloud platform, and is involved in many technical decisions, like when we have something tricky, and also he's taking care of the security. And what else? What can you tell about yourself?
Yes, security, the platforms, the architecture of the systems, and any like last resort internal support.
Yeah, he's also our, when we do something bad, he's always the guy that would say, no, you cannot do this. He's like the last, safety net that we have when we do stupid things. And we sometimes do. And Jerry, it's easier, is the guy who's responsible of what we call the web client, so all the UI code, the JavaScript part of Odoo, what runs in the browser. And something else to say about yourself now? Okay. So we will start now. If you have a question, you just raise your hand. We will give you the mic, and then you ask your question. Don't be shy. Yeah. First question.
So for contributing to certain parts, like let's say the Docker project under Odoo. So once I've read through the parts there, how well do you take community contributions into the system?
But the Docker thing is a bit special because it's not really part of the core project. So for that, I don't even know who's maintaining it. Is it Martin, you know?
Yes, so it's published on GitHub like the rest of our projects, but it's not actively watched for contributions, so that maybe that's a kind of experience that is different from the normal projects, Odoo and Odoo Enterprise for people who have access to that. My colleague Christophe Monnier is in charge of maintaining the Docker system because we use it as a basis also for our packages, for building the installers for Windows, for Linux actually. And also for Runbot, we use a variation of the Docker system for building our continuous integration testing system. But it's more of a kind of second thought that we came up with this Docker project, and because we also needed to have a presence on the Docker hub, but we just kind of make something that works, and it's not actively maintained. But you should not be shy and definitely make a proposition, pull request on that project if you have ideas. And I think we have quite a few PRs already sitting there. So we are from time to time reminding Christophe to have a look at them.
Yeah, it was updated just yesterday.
For the rest of the question, so more generally, if you want to contribute, you can do it through GitHub, and you create a pull request, and we process them, and we have somebody dedicated to that. It's Martin, who look at all the pull requests. And what happens is, if it's something specific to a specific team, then the specific team of that application will look at it. And for more generic stuff, Martin usually handles it himself.
And we have many people actively contributing to the process by triaging pull requests. So we have 3 people in the community that have special access, like moderators of our GitHub project. So they are really, really active, and they will quickly give feedback on any new proposition, any new ticket issue that is reported. So it's definitely more active on the main Odoo project than on the side project, like the one we have for our run bot and for the Docker system.
So would looking at the issues that are out there and seeing if we can help out with the issues, would that be helpful?
Yes, but it's helpful to even look at the issues that other people have reported and do whatever you can do with them. Decide if, okay, maybe it's an issue that has to do with development, with deployment. If it's something that is a bug in Odoo, that's something that the people reporting don't always understand themselves. So it's always helpful to help them understand a bit what is the root cause of the issue they're seeing. If it's maybe a duplicate, because we have so many duplicates of things, because people don't always use the same keywords when they're searching. And then asking the right people. That's usually the next step, is finding within the teams of Odoo R&D who is responsible for what domain, what functional area of the system. So we have a wiki on the Odoo GitHub project where we have the list of the teams and who is responsible for what area, stock, accounting, and so on. So that's the next step, where when you don't know how to handle something, you ping on GitHub the right people. And also we have like generic helpers, so these three guys from the community, and Martin Trigot, who is Mart E on GitHub, who will generally help, and I'm also available for this kind of thing. So usually the process involves like pinging different people and finding the right guy for moving this issue forward, and also the pull requests. But pull requests is probably more specific, because you need to be able to maybe test the pull request and assess whether it is the right way of doing it. So probably you want also to get someone from R&D involved in this process as well.
Thank you.
Okay, next question.
All right, my question has to do with the upgrading, minor upgrading, like a bug fix.
No,
And
what do you mean by minor upgrading?
bug fixes.
Okay, okay.
You may have something that you need to.
Yeah.
Now, I notice on Odoo SH, Odoo Online, it works perfectly. You can upgrade automatically. However, for evening community, it updates. You can just run a script and it updates. However, for the on-premises enterprise, I noticed that there's not so much upgrading done.
It's just exactly the same process. So you can maybe explain the stable policy that we have, and because we have a stable policy that says you should just update the code and you don't need to do anything else.
Maybe just to verify if that's what you're asking for. So basically we have this nightly builds where every day we are going to merge some bug fixes in the stable versions, like version 10, version 11, version 12, 13. And normally we try to make these bug fixes safe, in the sense that all you have to do is to download the latest patches, basically do git pull to retrieve the latest source code, and restart your server, and normally that's as much as there is to do. Sometimes if the bug fix includes changes to views or XML data, then there may be an extra step that you need to manually force a synchronization of that module by clicking the upgrade button on that specific app. So that's the basic process of upgrading for the nightly bug fixes, the daily bug fixes, basically. So that's what we do on the SaaS. On the SaaS, we do that every week. Usually on Monday, we will pull the code for all the branches that we have in production on the SaaS. And for Odoo SH, it's the same thing. There's a small difference in Odoo SH, is that you can decide that you want to pin to a specific revision. But you can only do that for a little while, and then at some point you have to catch up anyway. Or you have also security patches sometimes. So that's the basic of it. And normally on premises, it's going to be very similar to that, except you may have customization. So in that case, there may be conflicts when you download a new update of the repository, but otherwise it's similar. You then restart your server. So where are you going with your question exactly as to how it is different on premises versus on the SaaS?
Well, on premises, it's I noticed in the community installation, I just need to update the server and it pulls all the fixes.
So you update it depends on you how you deploy. If you deploy from the Git repository, what you just do is check out to the latest revision, and you do that in community with only one repository. And if you use enterprise, you have to do it in both repositories. So you do it in Odoo and Odoo/enterprise. But the process is exactly the same, except that you have to do in two repositories.
Okay.
Does that answer your question or not?
Yeah, it does. Thanks.
Yeah? Okay.
I have maybe an unreasonable question. I've been using Odoo since OpenERP 7,
yeah.
And I've learned that for every new version, every new major version that comes out, you know, be careful about what got pulled. I'm on the community edition. And so look for what got yanked. And so it might be the accounting, it might be reports. In version 13, it's the payroll engine. And so thank God for OCA because, you know, they add it back in and so on and so forth. And I understand you people need to finance a great project, but, you know, the more things that get pulled out, I think, okay, OCA will add them back in. And does this mean that the core eventually will be so divergent that CE and enterprise don't really cross-pollinate well anymore?
Okay. So what I will explain is more what policy we have. And, you know, when we decided to do Odoo Enterprise and Odoo Community, we had to draw a line somewhere. What would be enterprise, what would be community? And we changed a bit the way we draw the line. The way we draw the line now is per app. We say, okay, this app, let's take website, for example. Website, it's a community app, so we say everything related to website should be in communities. That's the reason why we now move the teams from enterprise to community, and that's the reason also we moved, I think, coupon, and did we move something else? No, and e-learning, you know, e-learning, it's related to websites, so we moved, it was done in community. And then there are some apps that we think should be in enterprise. And one of the main apps that we think it should be in enterprise, it's accounting. So for us, if you do accounting, of course you can do things yourself, but if you want to use the official Odoo accounting, you must use enterprise. And that's the reason we did. So you should not think, oh, they moved the report. No, accounting is in enterprise, and that's the reason now we can draw the line clearly. Okay, accounting, payroll, it's apps that we think should be enterprise, and for apps that are community, they are fully in community. And why do we choose to put accounting in enterprise? Because it's a trigger for sales. So yeah, we need to get money. And you know, we finance Odoo with Odoo Enterprise. And if you look at the code that we produce, 80% of the code that we produce is still in community, and only 20% of it are in enterprise. But of course, people usually complain because they want, you know, those 20% from enterprise, especially accounting. You know, people are picky about accounting. They don't care about e-sign or what else we have in enterprise that people don't care about. I don't know. There are a few modules. They are nice to have, but it's not as essential as accounting. So really, the point is, why is accounting in enterprise? But it's something we decided when we release Odoo Enterprise. Does that answer your question about how do we split? And maybe you can add something?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to add two things. With regard to your question about is the community edition going to be so different from the enterprise edition in the end, and that they're going to be incompatible or completely different products. If you actually go down to GitHub and you watch the work that we do every day and the committee, you quickly realize that most of our work is happening in the community edition, and there's no way that the enterprise edition makes any sense without this like massive base for it that is the community edition. So that's the first point. So there's no way they're going to be so divergent that they cannot. There are two different products, and then. The second thing that is interesting is I was discussing with the OCA board members back in Belgium last month, and we were talking about exactly this topic and the fact that whenever there's a new edition, a new release, there's always some things that are moving, some apps that are added in one edition or the other, or some apps that sometimes are moved from one side to the other, and there's always like a big reaction because while we are talking about open source products, it's always like in the DNA of open source to be wary of whatever proprietary movements are going on. But they were saying that it's actually quickly inflated to incredible proportions, and they are themselves really, they felt bad about it because they think that it's because there is so much bad press going on, and they are not pushing enough good press to counterbalance it. And they were saying that they were going to do something about that. But anyway, their point was to say that if you look at the community edition of Odoo right now in version 13, it is an incredible product, and it's really a powerful suite of business application that is nowhere. Has no competition really as to what you can do with this product for free. It's really incredible. Even if you look at Odoo 8, that everybody says was the last complete edition of OpenERP or Odoo because it was not a split between community and enterprise. Really, there's no saying that the community edition of Odoo now in 2019 is really an incredible and very powerful suite of application.
I do accept that answer and Anthony's answer. I appreciate it. It seems the way you explained it seems less arbitrary than it appeared. And I do want to. I admitted that it might be kind of a nasty question. I do want to say that, hey, look, if don't consider this comment or question to be a warning about adopting Odoo. I have been using Odoo since before version 8, and the people that say that 8 was the last true one are full of it. That's just balderdash. So I appreciate your answer, and it does make sense.
Yeah, I will add something about this, something more from a business perspective. I think if you look at the landscape of companies, open source company, there's only one model that succeeded. It's the open core model, and that's the one GitLab is doing. That's the one we are doing, and it could have been different, but I don't know. And this model works, and so I think it was one of the best moves we did. Even if, I think maybe if you asked me 10 years ago, I was like, no, 100 open source, I was idealistic maybe. But it also, that move solved almost all of our issue with the open source community. We have much less issue now than we had in the past, because in the past, we had a 100% open source product, but we struggled to get money. And so what we did at the time was selling some kind of support contract. And it was not sustainable because people bought a contract for 1 or 2 years, and then they realized, Odoo works perfectly. We don't need the support contract. We can get rid of it. So after you lose your recurring revenue and you cannot build onto something. So now that we've split, because at the time we were arguing with the community about other things. Now they know that that's the frontier, that's the open source stuff. If you want to be 100% open source, it's okay for us. We are fine with it. And but if you want to use the enterprise stuff, you use it. If you want to do it again yourself, we're fine with that. But at least, you know, the frontier is clear. And it got clearer when we also, you know, there were some shady, dark area, like some modules that there were sometimes some small feature that was cool and it was only in an enterprise. So we tried to, you know, fix those. And now I think it's very clear. And I remember that we had, I think a few years ago, like troll flames and, you know, discussion on mailing list, and we don't have that anymore since we've did the move. Okay, so maybe we can switch to the fine. We can go on to the next question.
Hi guys. Okay, so my first question is, Odoo is primarily, we interact with Odoo through the web, right? Now, what my question is that your focus on the documentation for Odoo, it's focused a lot on just XML and Python.
Yeah.
But in my opinion,
that's all you.
Front end is a major part of it as well. So what? But in my experience, there's very little documentation on actually using front-end code to actually manipulate Odoo and actually customize it. So is there a reason as to why that is, and how can we actually improve the front-end?
I have a good news for you, but I will let Jerry explain it to you.
I think you saw my talk 2 days ago, but you just mentioned documentation.
Yes.
First, so let me just talk about that a little bit. You're completely right. Documentation was a big issue for a long time because in the way the documentation was the code itself and the experience that you have in Odoo. When you work at Odoo, you ask someone next to you that knows how to do it, and that's the way it works. So, it was not sustainable. It could not be scale to a larger amount of developers. Last year, we published an additional page on the official documentation, JavaScript reference. And since then, we have at least some documentation. It's really difficult to document how to customize the user interface because there is not really one way to do that. I think the best documentation on that is actually the technical training that we did this year and the year before that, where you have like a big list of exercises to do many different tasks, such as adding a button or a field widget or many different tasks. So, yeah.
I wanted you to explain that because you are refactoring the web client, the new framework is fully documented.
Yeah, and so that was, I was going to go there. Then, until now, it was difficult and still is to customize to work. And we noticed that even internally, our own developers have trouble getting started in some tasks. So we have a lot of discussions about that, and we decided to make our own customized framework named OWL in a standalone way. And this framework is completely documented. So at least from that standpoint, it will be easy to use. You will still need some experience customizing Odoo specifically, because you will need to interact with those field components inside Odoo, but I expect that we will document them. We will make an effort to document them as much as possible. Well, yeah, yes, that's right. So we are going to work as much as we can for the next year or 2 years to update our code base to this new framework, and it should be better.
And he sets the bar, because if you look at the old documentation, it's very complete. So the development they will follow those guidelines, and I think it will be a good documentation when everything is refactored. Does that answer your question?
Yes, very much, and I appreciate the old framework that you all are releasing. I'm very excited about that.
Okay. Yeah.
I actually have a decent follow-up question for that. So kudos on the great work on the new JavaScript framework. And my follow-up question is, will we be seeing any of the refactorings in the website module, and specifically the ability to create snippets? Because I know we have the old like S-animation class, for example. Will the new web client framework be able to be used in that regard as well?
Yeah, we want to make, actually one of the goals we have is being able to use anything that you would use on the back end, on the front end. That's one of the goals, but we already had that goal before. And like, for example, you want to do something special and you want to use a many-to-one somewhere in the front end. You should be able to use the many-to-one. It's already possible now, but it will be easier in the future.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, so Odoo is a really magnificent tool, and it's evolving really fast. And well, it's quite cool that we have a new release every year. But still, for some businesses, you know, that's very important to have some
stability.
Stability, yes. So, for example, that depends on the business, and you know, this is one of our, Odoo advantages, that we have the new releases. But this is our weak point as well, because, for example, next year Odoo 11 will become obsolete, and you know, I remember just some short time ago it was presented like a new Odoo. And the question is, are you planning to introduce some kind of the long-term support, not free, but for example, as a paid option for the customers who really would like to use Odoo, but you know this mess, I'm sorry, that is created by the yearly upgrades, that stops the businesses at some point and really makes them a little bit disappointed with Odoo.
You are not forced to upgrade, and actually at the moment, no, but you have to know that it's not because there's something new that you have to migrate to it. But usually, when they see it, they want some features of it. That's maybe the issue. Now, we won't stop innovating, and probably we will continue to release many versions and many new stuff. But maybe we will increase the number of versions, the stable version we keep. At the moment, it's 2 versions. 3. So now that it's 13, it's up to 11, yeah. So we could increase that, because actually we do it, because we still have some customer in V10, and we try not to, but sometimes at least we maintain the security patches, you know, minimum level of it's unofficial, but we still do it. So we might increase that and say, okay, you can keep staying on version 10 for more years. That's what Red Hat did. You know, they increased. Red Hat 6 is supported until 2037 or something like that. You know, they say, okay, we will support for 20 years the old version. So we might do that, but we won't stop releasing new version. No, we won't stop innovating.
No. I totally agree, and I say, okay, guys, that's cool. So that's our advantage. Just to keep in mind that there are some businesses, and really that will give us an opportunity to have some industries involved. For example, some heavy machinery for steel mill industries. They really like to have some opportunity, for example, to get away from SAP. Yeah. But when I say, okay, guys, that's cool, you will buy the Odoo now, but in 3 years it will be obsolete, and they say, wow, man, we have the 10-year or 15-year support, and we would like to pay money like Red Hat does and have it. That's the question. So don't stop evolving.
How long do you think? Actually, every year we have a new release. I'm always having that discussion with our support guys, asking them, well, what about if we keep supporting the last version that we are going to deprecate? Like we released 13, we had to end 10. What about keeping it? Because we still have customers on the SaaS anyway, so we can continue maintaining it. And actually, there's not a lot of work, because on version 10, I don't think we had like maybe 10 bug fixes over the last few weeks or even months. I think there's really low maintenance now. So for us, it's not a big cost. And a big cost is just that they have to keep the skills in their support team So it's mostly just a question of that. I guess it does make sense to keep. But what if we kept it like kept it this way? Let's say we keep 5 LTS versions supported officially. Like we keep now, we would still have like 10 and maybe 9, but we just keep fixing like the rare security issues that happen, and maybe one bug fix a year in terms of functional features, because it's mostly perfectly quiet and stable. Would that be okay for those industries? Just having like official support, because there's unofficial support. I know a lot of partners are still running version 8 or even version 7 in production, so at their own risk, but they're still doing it. But if it was just officially supported, that would be much better for those typical customers?
Sure, because actually that's the matter of marketing as well, because, okay, of course we can make these security patches ourselves, but if we are trying to sell the product and we say, okay, it has only 3 years of life cycle, that's, well, guys, that's not serious for the ERP. I'm talking about ERP system, yeah? So, for example, for some apps, that's cool, but for ERP, that's the core application for the industry, for the company. And of course, that's the basement that is built on, so this basement must be strong. And the customer must be ensured that this basement won't fail in some moment, and he hadn't to rebuild the entire building just because his basement is out of service.
If we say 3 years, but like 5 or 10 years just for security issue, would that be enough?
That would be, guys, that would be perfect. I understand that, yes, of course, you are interested and everybody is interested in getting to the new versions.
Yeah.
But still, some small bug fixes, we need to implement this just to make our customers more confident in Odoo. So Odoo won't drop you at some point. It won't say, okay, we won't help you because you are 3 years old. So that means that it will be a very, very strong instrument for some projects that now just floating away because we cannot offer something similar.
The week before I came here, there was somebody who was using a tiny ERP version 4.2 or 4.2, yeah, if you remember, and he wanted to migrate to version 12, So he has been using it since 2005 or something, or 2008, and has been using it for 10 years, and it worked.
Yes.
So yeah, I think we all had also somebody who was using version 2, Tiny ERP 2. And actually the father of Fabien is still using Tiny ERP 2.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, regarding the documentation, is it also possible to have more documentation about, for example, odoo.http and odoo.auth? It's like libraries that you have inside of Odoo, because we needed to make connection with local ADFS, and we got to do it, but there was no documentation for those libraries. I think there's also a library called Libreria or Libreria.
Oh, the client libraries.
Yes. Is there somewhere we can look for that documentation?
But the thing is that we don't have an official client library, do we? No. So it's an official project. What is officially supported is the API itself, which is you can use XML RPC or a JSON RPC. That's what's documented and supported. And the shell, yeah. But we don't have an official client library.
Okay. And the other question is there an easy way to change the color of the top bar? Because sometimes the customers are using staging and they're testing and they forget that they switch because they're comparing with production and the bar is like pink, purple.
We do it internally, actually.
Is there
for
easy
the
way
staging
to put
one? Yeah.
yellow or something?
I think it's probably one line of CSS, but yeah, probably just one line of CSS. And you can do it even in the database. Huh? You can edit the CSS in the database itself if you want. Yeah, it's related to, we now have a new multi-company selector in V13, and the icon change. So if you have many tabs open, you can see right from the tab on which company you are working. Yeah.
Okay. Are you planning to support a REST API in CE? There's a variety of REST modules, and it's maybe one line of code or something. I think you'd have a unique selling feature if you'd say that here's an official REST API instead of RPC. It is more friendly than RPC.
Yeah, but the problem with the REST API, you don't have any convention about dictionaries. So it's easy if you have only scalar types, on the URL. But if you want to do actual function call, how do you encode a dictionary as an argument?
Well, when you have a your web page, you get your env environment, self.env, and you can just make a small wrapper around that and make it a REST API.
Then if you wrap thing, it's almost as easy to use JSON RPC.
I was just asking.
You get my point, huh?
I think it's more standard than RPC, and I think a fair amount of these people that are saying, hey, integration. If you could say REST API, that's lingua franca, I guess, until GraphQL or something. But
what do you think about that, Olivier? There was some people did some layer where they expose all the object of Odoo using a REST API. And I think it works probably for most of the case, but if you need to give a dictionary, then you say, okay, all the argument has to be serialized in JSON, maybe. Because most of the REST API that you see online, they have to give up some of the flexibility of having anything as an argument for a function. So we might do it. It's not excluded, but it's not high priority because you have a way to interact with Odoo. So, no more question? Voilà.
Yeah, my question is about contributing to the code by the community. What's the correct procedure, and also which versions can we push? I'm asking because
if it's a bug fix, you can do it in stable, but usually if it's something new, it has to be done in master.
Okay, but I mean, I sent a bug fix. I put the issue and all that. I linked the issue.
If you have a specific issue, we can look at it after.
Well, it doesn't matter anymore. It was for version 10, but that's my question because it still had support, but it was completely ignored.
Okay.
And I know the same problem is it's still on version 11 and 12. I don't know about 13.
What's your bug?
It's about the daylight saving times on the calendar.
Okay.
It's not supported, and it's just a simple fix, actually.
Yeah. You think it's a simple fix?
I believe so,
okay. Maybe we can look at it after.
Are you guys still marching?
Because
for
I think it's
10?
not that simple.
I just want to tell you in a general way, I don't know about your fix, but usually when there is a fix, sometimes the correct fix is in a different place, or sometimes the fix is missing a test. And it's annoying to accept a fix without a test, so we have to take a little bit of time to think about that. And it's kind of, sometimes it's more work that you would expect, just having accepting a fix. So maybe it's an issue with that.
Yeah, but basically it's all explained. This thing is still getting bigger or what? Anyway, we have on the wiki, I guess maybe you've seen that, we have the contribution guide where we explain how to make pull requests and what is the policy for what can be merged in which version. So we just kind of ended version 10, but bug fixes and like legal changes to localizations can still be submitted for all the 11, 12, and 13, obviously. And then anything else will be retargeted to master. But if you are unsure, you can always open a pull request, and one of the guys will ask you to retarget it to the right version if they say that, okay, it's not compatible with the policy. Mostly it's anything that is not a bug fix, but more of a nice to have thing, then we will usually ask to go to master to avoid, because it's always a question of risk versus benefit, and usually if it's a nice to have, it's not a lot of benefit, but there's always some significant risk that maybe this is going to be breaking someone in production, and that's not a good chance to take when you're just a nice to have feature. So yeah.
Especially DST, it's something that is usually tricky, and fortunately Europe will get out of DST next year, I think. You should do the same here in the US. I think 60% of the people in the US thinks we should get rid of DST too.
Thank you.
No more question? Ah voilà, encore. Yeah.
I have one more question.
No, it's okay. We are here to answer your question.
So, as far as I know, mail templates are still
Yep.
using
Yeah.
Jinja.
Yeah.
Is that on the horizon?
Yeah,
to go
we
to QWeb?
would like to change it, but at the same time, it's complex. So we had a plan to replace it by QWeb, like maybe 4 years ago. We didn't do it yet. So yeah, we would like to get rid of it. But at the same time, it has some advantages, because if you just want to display one variable, it's easier to type it in Jinja than you would do it in QWeb. So you have pros and cons, and I think we don't have a good solution yet for that.
Okay.
But Thibaut, who did the initial mail module, planned to work again on email template soon. He told me, I want to do it soon. So maybe it will come this year.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Does Odoo use the Django framework?
Yeah.
And can we use that documentation if we need to make some custom development?
No, I didn't understand your question. We don't use Django. I was thinking you told me, oh, I'm using also Django. But no.
No,
we don't use Django. We use our own framework.
Okay.
Okay? And it has some similarity with Django because you have an ORM layer, but it's a totally different ORM. Other question? What time is it? Ça, c'est censé se terminer à quelle heure? Well, we still have 1 quarter, 15 minutes, so if you want to ask a question. It's now or never. No, it's not true. You can ask us anything at any other time. Yeah.
Since we're in the now or never stage, and everything, about performance, Uber, thanks for the ORM improvements in 13. As just wondered, have you ever thought about trying to be maybe a tad more compatible with PyPy? That might get you to a whole new level, and maybe not, because your class inheritance is pretty dynamic. So just wondered if it ever crossed your mind.
Yeah. There is also a question of stability. We trust the C Python implementation, and it would be quite experimental to switch to another implementation of Python. I think it's better if we solve some algorithmic issue, like we do some stupid thing in Python, then we get speed ups, than changing the engine of Python. That would be a risky move, I think. What do you think about moving to another faster implementation of Python? Also, those faster implementations, they claim they are faster. They say, well, we are 100 times faster on this simple loop, but I'm not sure in the full code of Odoo you would get that much performance improvement. But we didn't test it.
Yeah, we haven't tested. Some people have gotten pretty far with getting it to run on over PyPy. There were some issues with some libraries, but they were almost running the full stack. I don't know if we would get orders of magnitude of performance improvement the way we did with the new ORM, because we kind of reduced a lot of stupid things that we were doing repetitively, and that's something that even just-in-time compilers can't really do. They're just going to do a bit faster, but here we're just cutting whole branches of code paths that were not necessary. That's definitely bringing a lot more performance benefits. So I think we are aiming for that kind of improvements, really. But basically, using PyPy would be like getting better hardware, but that's not going to give you another magnitude of benefit.
But what I can tell you is that speed and performance is still one of our topest priority. It's not because we finished this refactoring that we will stop. We had a list of, let's say, 15, 20 things to do, and we only did maybe 5 of the things that we have on the list. I'm not sure all of them will have such a big impact, but we are still working on it. And both on the Python side and on the JavaScript part. Yeah, another question there.
This is just a simple question, but
Yeah.
on the documentation site,
Yeah.
For Odoo, I've noticed there's not really search functionality if we're
Yeah,
looking for something
we
particular.
got this asked a lot of time, and it's a shame, I know. So we want to do it, but the easiest way to do it, and I know it's a bit ugly, you add, the domain name in Google, and then you add your keywords. You probably know the drill. So yes, it's planned to, but we need to improve the website and change. We wanted also to improve the templates that we use to render, because we use Sphinx to generate the documentation, and we would like also to improve the template that we use. But yeah, we know.
The question is about the new OWL framework. Are you still planning to implement it in the next version, or maybe it will be postponed for the version 15? Is there any confidence?
No, it's planned for 14, because at the moment they are doing the point of sale, so rewriting the point of sale using it. They are doing the app switcher and I don't know, something else. So it's definitely planned for 14. Even if at the 14 release, maybe not everything will be converted. Maybe you can add on it.
Probably not completely for next version. We plan to replace gradually piece by piece the web everything, but it's going to take a long time. So we don't actually know. It's difficult to say.
But I mean, we are sure that the library will be there and it will be available.
Yeah, the library is pretty much on a stable state. It's 1.0 alpha something, and it will be definitely in Odoo in the next month or 2 months, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, question is the following. Will be there any compatibility between the existing framework and the new framework?
Yeah, that's a big issue, of course. It's hard to say, but what we are doing right now, what we did actually, is wrapper to instantiate our component from a widget component and the other way around. So we already have those small adapters, and we are using them to replace just parts of the web client individually. Okay, but at some point it's going to be difficult for example, the field widgets. There are so many, and they have a very tricky API, kind of awkward to use standalone. So, but we'll do our best to keep as much compatibility.
Probably for that they will have to do one big, if they won't upgrade every field separately, probably it will be in one shot. And that will be the most difficult thing to refactor. Yeah.
Thank you.
Also, we talked about at some point we probably will remove the old widget class from the web framework, but we talked about just moving it to an external to another add-on, so you could install it if you need it for your own project, and with some helper code to use it. So in the future, I guess you could use that to help you migrate.
No questions anymore? Okay. Okay, bon. So thank you for your presence here. Thank you for your question. And see you next time at the next Odoo Experience or Odoo Connect event. Want to add? Okay. We are still here for maybe half an hour or something. After we will probably leave. So if you want to ask us questions personally, don't hesitate and come to us.